All right, family, welcome back to the channel. So let's get right into this video. Let's talk about the fact that you have a burning fire inside of you, and you already know that this is true. And if you're watching this video and this resonates for you, you're gonna know what I'm talking about. And not every single person is gonna resonate. This just resonates to the people that feel called to this video, that you feel like you just need to click it, that you want to click it, right? Because you're gonna be able to relate with it. But let's just talk about, you have a burning fire in you, and that burning fire in you comes from God. And that burning fire is the reason you've been able to constantly overcome a lot of challenges, constantly go through a lot of things, constantly learn a lot of different things, constantly go through harsh lessons, a lot of lessons, constantly go through suffering from a very young age. It's because your light has been noticed by everyone since you were younger, right? And you have a light and you have a burning fire inside of you to do something. Like you may not even know what it is, but God has specifically given you this kind of like entrepreneurial drive, right? It's kind of like it's a drive that gets you to kind of go nonstop towards your goals. Like you might be someone who's always goal driven, right? You have probably a lot of goals, you have a lot of dreams, you have a vision to you, and you could go through so many different things, but nothing ever stops you from actually doing it. Like you could get delayed or set back, or you could get frustrated, but you somehow never stop. You somehow always keep going, and that's what's gonna drive you to where you want to be, where you're gonna go, like where your purpose is, right? Because that's how God has made you. And by what I mean entrepreneurial, I'm not just saying that like it's just a worldly thing, right? Entrepreneurial, I mean by the way that you're a leader. You're kind of created to do your own thing, create your own thing, be your own leader, be your own boss, just be your own type of person, because you already know that that's your personality, because that's how God made you. He made you be kind of this person that's like individual, right? You know what I'm talking about if you're watching this video, but you already know that you're probably a person who has like a lot of different ideas. You're a person who thinks outside the box. You're a person that's spiritually gifted, so you see through a lot of things. You see the truth about a lot of things. You can see what's wrong with certain things. You can see what's right. You can kind of just see through things that people do not see. And that's how you know if you have a purpose from God, right? Because you'll just have like this different type of spirit about you that's kind of non-stop. It's almost like a burning flame inside your spirit that like you kind of never could just conform to things. You can't just like accept things for what they are. You always want to get better because you have a vision inside of you. So you try to achieve the thing that you want to do like non-stop. It's not gonna let up until you go to the place that you're supposed to be. This is why I always say that you should you need to keep pushing towards that thing that you're supposed to do. There's no other option for you. There's no other way for you to go, because if you go another way, then you're going to suffer differently. You're going to suffer with yourself. You're going to be like, man, I don't even want to do this. I don't want to do this. I hate this. I do not want to do this, right? You're going to go through certain situations, like maybe people like have power over you, right? Because you're probably the type of person that hates if people have power over you. That's also what drives your entrepreneurial type of spirit. And because you like that, you got to be like that if you have a purpose, so you could achieve that purpose. Because there's a lot of temptations that come. There's a lot of different areas to go in life, different things that come around. They'll kind of drag you and take you certain places, but because you have that vision, your eyes will always be for that vision, and you have that burning flame inside you that kind of never stops. And this is why I always say that, like, if you're chosen, if you have a purpose, you can't even tell yourself to give up on your, like, whatever your dream is. You cannot, like, even if you say you don't want to do it, you're just gonna go the other way and just do that and just, live normally. Even if you do say you're not gonna be satisfied, you're gonna be like, I don't even like this. Like, you might even be like, this is boring, or like, this sucks. You're not gonna feel like you have control over your life, right? And just know you're like that for a reason. And because you're like that, this is why you've been a high target ever since you were younger. Like, you've been noticed easily by people. You've been looked at weird by people. You've been kind of like a victim of like envy a lot, right? And I'm not saying you're a victim. Like, none of us are victims. No one here is a victim. Don't ever victimize yourself about anything. But you've probably been someone who's targeted. That's been targeted a lot, whether that's through jealousy, whether that's through whatever it is. You already know that you've always felt kind of like this like spotlight, like you've always felt like a type of target to you, whether that's positive or negative. You've had both sides of it, right? The reason it's been like that is because people could tell, people see it spiritually. It's not all a material thing. Like people look at you and they'll be like, okay, this person's different, I don't know what it is, so they react differently to it, right? Just know that ever since you were young, you've been chosen. God has had a purpose for you, and that purpose starts to reveal itself as you get older. It starts to reveal itself. You start to notice like who you are, what you like to do, whatever that your dream is. You start to notice like really like who you are, because also whenever you're a lot younger, there's been a lot of different things going around, a lot of different advice, a lot of different things you're supposed to do, like the pressures of like friends, family, society, and everything. You get all these pressures, right? And it kind of takes you off your game. And this is also the reason why God likes to keep you alone. You find yourself alone a lot because he knows that he needs to protect you, because you have a purpose. You have something that's going to be really impactful, that's going to be good, and only you know what it is. And you know if you have a purpose too, if you just feel it. It's not really like a thing that you can necessarily explain. You just feel it in the spirit, right? But this is also why you kind of seem to be alone a lot, because if you don't get alone time, you'll kind of live in this state of distress most of the time, because you'll be living at like a conflict with yourself, with your own desires versus what the world wants from you, right? So you're gonna be living at a conflict. This is also why it's really important for you to take alone time. And you might even like being alone, especially as you've gotten older, or even ever since you've been young, like really young or whatever. You've probably liked your alone time. You've never really felt lonely when you were alone, right? Because you're like that for a reason, because you're never truly alone. You have God with you. God can hear you. God knows what you're thinking. God knows what you're feeling. God knows what you're going through and everything. God knows everything. This is why you can kind of just stay alone and you can feel calm being alone. But yeah, you've been protected because you are called for something. God needs your attention. So this is the reason you end up in long-term times of being alone. I'm not saying you're alone as in you never see people. I'm just saying most of your time is spent alone. You get a lot of alone time where like you start to realize like what you actually want. What's like the thing that you're supposed to be doing, right? So you don't get the other noise from outside. That's why you end up being alone a lot. But yeah, speaking of the burning flame inside you, the burning flame is a feeling that you have that kind of never lets up. It's almost irritating at first, because like you try to contain it, and we know you can't contain a fire, right? A fire goes everywhere. It's all consuming, and God is a consuming fire. So because you've been like that, you might have been irritated because first of all, you probably didn't even know how to get there. You just had this feeling, and you might be irritated too because you might be dissatisfied with things that most people would be satisfied with, right? You might be like, why am I even dissatisfied? I've already achieved everything I'm supposed to, right? But the thing is, with you, it's different. You're not supposed to go to these places. You're not supposed to be the exact same, because you're called differently. You're pulled out. That's why it's been so frustrating, because you might have kind of been like, what is this feeling? Like, why do I always feel like this? Like, why do I have all these things? And why do I have this success, or like this place I'm going through, or like this job or whatever, and I still feel this type of way? I still feel like I got beat somewhere else. That's where the alone time comes in. Because once you get alone, you finally realize it's like, oh, okay, like I know who I am now. Like I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I know what I actually desire. And then you go through and then you start to see all like the lies you've been told and everything about like you're supposed to be doing this, there's no other way, this is just the way it is. You start to unravel all these different lies, and you know that they're fake, they're not true, right? That's how your life is going to be if you're chosen, if you're entrepreneurial, right? If you know that you have a destiny to you, if you know that you have a purpose, it's going to be a state of conflict for a long time. It's going to be this state of conflict until you finally figure out, it's like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. Because once you do that thing that you're like, once you're doing that vision that you have, that feeling goes away. You're like, okay, this is like, I like it. I like this, right? But yeah, this is probably the end of the video. yeah, I don't really have much else to say, but I hope this helped you out. I know this is kind of a lot, but just know this is how your life is. You're not arrogant, you're not stubborn, you're not delusional, you're not narcissistic or whatever, you're not ungrateful, you're none of these. That vision has been put by God inside you, and that vision comes with a fire so you can obtain that vision. So nothing, literally nothing is wrong with you. It's just who you are, and you're supposed to obtain that thing, whatever the vision is, whatever the vision that you have is, right? All right, God bless you guys. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Don't forget to like, of course, and don't forget to comment. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video.